Good afternoon, Royalists. Tom and Paula here. We have a packed show for you today. We've only got Paula for exactly 32 minutes, so we're going to make the most of her. And then I'm going to stay on afterwards a bit to talk about some other things. You can see I'm speaking really fast because I'm incredibly excited because we have so much news about Beatrice and Eugenie today. First of all, a lot of reporting in the Times podcast. Roy and Nika, of course, very close to the palace, saying that, it's now looking inevitable that the titles will be removed. Well done to the legacy media on finally catching up on what we've been saying for some time. However, I was told at last weekend that from two separate sources had seen Eugenie out and about. One of them saw Eugenie at a party with her husband, and also there was Beatrice and her husband. They were both at this party in London, telling everybody they were absolutely fine, but looking like perhaps they weren't totally fine. I didn't report on it at the time because my source who was at the party was a private guest and asked me not to, but it is in the Mail today about them being at this party, along with two, not one, but two bombshell stories saying that the York princesses' marriages are in trouble. Paula, talk us through it.
Oh boy. Well, first we got this couple, Beatrice and Edo. And, he's the Italian businessman and he's got his design firm, Banda. And instead of being by his wife's side during this, I don't know, what's it called, Tom? Horrific period where her entire world is falling apart and everyone is looking at her going, wow, you got horrible judgment. You were the one who told Andrew to go ahead and do that interview, and you've been by his side. Anyway, her world's falling apart and her husband decided to go to Palm Beach. Granted, it was for business, but he's been uploading these insane photographs to his Instagram, lounging, having the wonderful time of his life. And now people are saying things are not looking good. Now, that's a shocker. We can get into that later because I never thought this marriage was a good idea. Then we've got
I tell you what, can I just tell you something, Paula, about the relationship between the two of them, which I know from people who know them. So what's really fascinating to me about this was that Edo's parents were always extremely nervous about the relationship from the get-go. So Edo's from a very, snobby, rarefied Italian family. He's had this slightly unusual for them life, and we're going to get on to Dara Huang in the Real Housewives of London that Paula's been watching, that I haven't, but Paula's been watching. She's going to tell you all about it. But that there was never massive support from Edo's side for this marriage because this is what I've been told, that they felt that the York family was dicey and shady, and basically, that it was going to drag their beautiful son into scandal. So it's really, really fascinating, this story in the Mail today. Carry on, Paula.
I do want to just add to that, Tom, because while their family, the Italians, God bless them. I mean, there's no royal family anymore, but they still think they are. I was always concerned for Beatrice because I gave him one eye sideways, 100%. We'll get into that in a minute because now we've also got Eugenie and Jack Brooksbank. That's a tongue twister. Thank you. And now they are a little bit more solid than Beatrice and Edo. However, I think Jack is just kind of like, I did not sign up for this. Oh my God. So let's pick apart B and Edo first, and we'll get into the issues with Eugenie and Jack in a minute. So
that's good.
The reason why I always thought Jack was a little is he had a really it was like his child with Dara Huang, who's technically an architect, but really an influencer, because let's be real clear about this one. This one's Instagram is jaw-dropping. She's in a different country every other day in a ball gown and a whatever. And they had like a 2-year-old child and he dumped her for Beatrice. And at the time, Dara was like, it's fine, it's fine. However, anyone who's watched Ladies of London, the first 3 episodes, looks and sees Dara for who she is. She's like, whatever, next, moving on. And she does that with anything in her life that isn't pleasant. But basically, Jax left her for Beatrice.
Edo. You're
Edo,
making the
sorry.
famous mistake of mixing them up.
I,
Now you're mixing up the husbands.
it's a lot. So Edo is like, whatever, bigger, better royal family over here, lots more connections. And Beatrice is just like pie-eyed, right? She's got this hot Italian count or whatever. And look at his taste in women. Dara, on the Ladies of London, it was shocking. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but it was shocking.
I'm ashamed to say I have not watched it. So I'm looking forward to getting all of these details from you, Paula.
Yeah, shame on you because it's fascinating. So her supposed best friend is this girl, Micah, who teaches etiquette. They've known each other since college. And all Dara does is badmouth her behind her back. Micah's always like, no, she wouldn't do that. No, no, no. Until finally she does get caught. Dara does at a dinner. And the girls are like, yeah, you absolutely did say all this crap about your supposed best friend. And Micah's like, hey, can we go talk? And Dara goes, no, I'm over it, and just won't talk to her. Later goes into the bathroom. And meanwhile, as she's saying, I never said this, the producers are showing clips of her absolutely saying all these horrible things about her best friend, right? So then she goes into a back room and says, that's it, I'm off. I'm not doing the show, and quits. And it's just, she's unlikable, put it that way. Okay. She's the kind of girl that surface level, you're like, oh, she's great. But the second you see below the surface, you're like, ooh, I gotta run fast. And also, interestingly enough, Dara's best friend is Serena and Venus Williams. She was on the yacht this summer with the Williams sisters for Venus's bachelorette party. And she went to the wedding. And you know who else is friends with the Williams sisters? Meghan Markle. So there's a lot in between going back and forth. And yeah, I always thought Jax was a little dodgy. Or sorry, Edo. Edo was a little dodgy. You guys forgive me.
So I'm going to tell you a bit about what
is dodgy.
Here's a bit about what it says in this article in the Mail, written by Charlotte Griffiths. Now, Charlotte Griffiths, an interesting byline. Obviously, she was in the news. She is named as one of the people in Harry's case. She had to take the stand. And when she was on the stand, she gave this astonishing account of how she found out that Catherine was pregnant with her first child 2 days before it was released, because she was at a dinner party at which Prince William turned up and said that the cake couldn't come because she had morning sickness. She got in trouble with her editor because she did not tell her editor that she had found out that Catherine was pregnant. But it's a good sign that Charlotte is like this thing of like the Mail tapping phones and stuff. To people who've worked at the Mail has always prided itself on having these really great society contacts and society pay them a fortune. And they have this is their MO, this is their USP, right? Is having this tap into the high society stuff. So the fact that Charlotte Griffiths is writing this, that Beatrice's marriage is in trouble, that there's distance between them, etc., that is really relevant. One other thing I do want to say, as I said at the beginning, I was told that Beatrice and Edo were at this birthday party in London on Friday. Now, what Charlotte Griffiths doesn't say is that Eugenie and Jack were also there. So it was like a four-header, very much like they didn't tip anyone off. There weren't any photographs of it, but it was a high-profile event within London society. Like people I know were there, etc. So, and this was very much like everybody said, And anybody asked them how they are, they said, we're fine, we're fine, we're fine. I do know other people who've seen Beatrice around about in the area where she lives, saying that she doesn't look great. She doesn't look very depressed. You may remember, Paula, I did a story with a friend of hers saying that she couldn't eat, she couldn't sleep. She was so stressed
Yes.
by the whole thing, so upset by the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, I'll just give you one more quote from a source of Charlotte Griffiths. She wants to stay together, but he seems more and more distracted by work and travel. Just when she needs him most, he's been pulling away.
She also put in there that things haven't been great for a while. And I bet that while started in January, if you know what I mean. Epstein drop. But yeah, to be fair, Tom, I remember when they got together and I was like, yeah, I don't see this. Now they do have 2 kids, so God bless. But I definitely think he signed up for something a lot more genteel, a lot more high profile and public. He does seem to quite like all of the society events and getting clients from there, shades of Andrew. He's a lot different than Jack Brooksbank.
Okay, so let's get on to Jack Brooksbank. Those of you who love my wife's favorite reference point for the royal family, which is the Windsors on Channel 4 with Harry Enfield playing King Charles, will remember that Jack Brooksbank is caricatured in that show as George Clooney's tequila boy, because he worked for Casamigos Tequila. And whenever anyone says the word tequila, he has this Pavlovian reaction where he has to go shot, and he has to get
it's kind of like Megan when things get uncomfortable. Hold on. Oh, it's Beyonce texting.
So okay, so here's what I'm told on by sources and stuff who know them. They are financially, it's more tricky for them now. Edo has done really, really well with Banda design. It's made a lot of money. They live in this fabulous kind of $3-4 million house in the countryside in England. Eugenie and Jack, it's different. He's a competent guy. He now works for this property development company in Portugal, where they have a house provided as part of the kind of arrangement. They famously, before they moved out there, they stayed, and I'm told for free, at Harry and Meghan's home, Frogmore Cottage, after Harry and Meghan had left the UK. This really annoyed William. William very much felt that Eugenie had made it very clear what side her bread was buttered. Eugenie was then photographed going out there and hanging out with Harry. And she basically took what I think was a very intelligent move to move overseas and have a kind of different kind of life. And so I can completely understand that Jack is like, we are not having your mother moving in here.
Yeah, he's definitely against that. So unlike Edo, he is not leaving his wife alone in this horrific time. Jack's focus is said to be his wife and his children. This is his family. He really just wants to be there and protect them. However, he is said to be putting his foot down, and I do not blame him, especially when it comes to Fergie. So he's basically looked at his wife, and I think she agrees with him, and says, Fergie cannot come live with us in Portugal. Right now, she's still on the run. She's still in deep hiding, and she needs a permanent place to live. And it has been reported in multiple places that she's like, maybe I could just go live in Portugal, because this development where they are, places start at 1 million euros. And it's very expensive. It's very exclusive. And Jack is like, absolutely not. She's way too needy. She's tainted. She's difficult. And I don't want to have responsibility for her or what she does next, because we all know Fergie's going to do something next that's going to be a darn problem. Now, the good thing about Jack is that the royal family actually really seems to like him. He's gone shooting with them. He hangs out with them, and he's not objectionable. And he's actually said to be a very good guy. And now, while he's not worth tens of millions. Yeah, he might be worth 1 or 2 million. However, he did build the company by himself, which I completely respect. It's almost American of him. And he really works his butt off. And he's standing by his wife, unlike Edo and Yuge.
Yeah, absolutely. There is a kind of interesting subplot with them as well, though. So, Dave Clark, who went out with Eugenie before and went out with Eugenie for like 10 years or 11 years. Again, I know quite a lot of people who know Dave because he went to St Andrews or Edinburgh or one of those schools where I went. And he was actually a friend of William's. And William apparently introduced him to Eugenie. And there was a certain amount of expectation that they were going to get married. It was like this very long relationship. And there was a sorry, I've done it again. Dave Clark, of course, was Beatrice's boyfriend. I apologize. I mean, all I can say is painful. Dave was with Beatrice, and there was a lot of surprise when they suddenly split up and it was all over. And then suddenly she's hooked up with this Italian count, and it's all sort of happened super quickly and blah, 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 blah. So the thing about the Edo and Beatrice thing, Benj, please show me a picture of Edo and Beatrice so I talk about the right people. This is too embarrassing.
I just want to cut in for a second, Tom. She should have known, because after 10 years, you either SHIT or get off the pot. I mean, it's after 3 or 4, you're like, TikTok, yes or no, I'm out. Babe, why did they break up though?
I don't know why they broke up, but what I do know is that people felt that there was like a lot of pressure on Dave to marry her, and that he just didn't want to buy into like the whole royal lifestyle and the whole deal, basically. And that she was very heartbroken. It was definitely him who ended it. And she was very heartbroken when it ended. And then people were kind of surprised when really quickly she was getting married to this chap who just dumped his wife and had a 2-year-old kid with the wife. And it was really weird at the time. I remember there was sort of no real reporting about it in the UK papers. It was all quite like hushed up, etc., etc., etc.
100%. And I remember wondering, did Edo and Beatrice meet while he was still with Dara? Because it was that quick. Dara and Edo had not broken up. They had not left each other completely. And there were some interviews at the time where Dara was surprised.
There were, and there definitely were. And I think that everybody took a decision very admirably on all of their behalves to kind of try and be grown up and for the sake of the child, and who's often now referred to as Beatrice's stepson, etc., etc., etc. But I think that what's again so interesting about this Charlotte Griffiths piece is these kind of quotes saying, he's just one of those men, he's very needy, he needs attention, he wants to be the center of attention, he's all these kinds of things that frankly do not surprise me at all. I've heard some of them. I haven't heard all of them. I haven't heard all of these things being said about him, but I do think that also I do feel a lot of compassion for the two princesses, because I think that effectively to me it feels like they are trying to deal with a lot of stuff. Now I do also believe that they were complicit in a lot of what was going on, And there was a very interesting podcast. The London Times has a royal podcast with Kate Manzi and Roy Nikar, which I was mentioning earlier. And they did a big thing about Beatrice and Eugenie this week. And in it, Kate Manzi says that she was trying to get Fergie to do an interview with the Times. And when she turned up for the meeting, Beatrice was there as like her mother's full-on advisor. Everything was being so, and how she explained it was like Fergie was sort of blurting out the ideas, and then Beatrice was like translating it and saying, well, I think what mummy means is this, that, and the other, and blah, blah, blah. And the implication, although the Times did not say it, and we saw that Beatrice was involved in negotiating the Newsnight interview. We know that for a fact. And the implication throughout the Epstein files seems to me to be that, and through everything we know about Andrew and Fergie's business dealing, is that Beatrice was quite involved in the whole operation. And yet I feel compassion for her in a way that I don't for Andrew. I think it's almost impossible to feel sorry for Andrew. Yeah. I do kind of feel sorry for Beatrice. I think it's just a horrible,
Here's the deal, Tom. I get why you feel sorry for her. Okay. And I did at first, but at the same time, she also showed up with Eugenie to Jeffrey Epstein's get out of jail party at his house in Palm Beach with their mother, both of which were old enough to know, they were adults, but also old enough to know, hey, we know what this guy did and why. Google was actually around then. Granted, it was in its nascent stage, but Yahoo was definitely around, and we all knew. So I don't feel that bad for her. I also think she's just one terrible idea after another of, I'll take care of it. I'll take care of it. I have family members like that who are like, I've got it. I'm good in crisis. And you're like, oh boy, it's about to get a lot worse, and she always does it. It's like, killing the fly with a cannonball. The fly might be dead, but now you got 8 feet of damage all around it, right? She's the family cannonball. And I wouldn't give her anything. She means well, but the road to hell paved with good intentions and all that. The other thing that bothers me about both her and Eugenie is that William and King Charles, really William, had said, hey, let's get someone to go through your accounts so that we can just make sure everything's on the up and up. And they both declined. After they declined, they both took trips to the Middle East. And we know that on their trips to the Middle East, Beatrice held a tea for the 0.001% of Saudi wealthy people in Jeddah, I believe. And Eugenie met with other wealthy people as well. Go ahead, Tom.
Okay, I hear what you're saying. I think that in terms of the financial audit of their affairs, I think they didn't agree with it because I'm told that they thought it was a trap. Well, because obviously there is stuff in their accounts, right? But what I would say about them is that I think they have become pawns in the bigger game, because William reportedly told them at the time that Andrew was refusing to move out of the house that if they couldn't get him to move out, their titles would be in jeopardy, with the implication being that if they helped the family solve the problem, it would all be smoothed over and made to go away for them, which I think reflects badly on everybody involved. I think it reflects really badly on everybody involved. But I think that there is a part of me that thinks that some 20-year-olds are really switched on and some are really stupid and haven't fully matured and just do what their parents tell them, and their parents go, it's okay. And I do feel, whilst I do not feel that they are blameless at all, there is a part of me that just thinks that they have totally been used as they're not victims, but they have become pawns in everyone else's game, whether it's the royal family's game to get Andrew to move out of Royal Lodge, or whether it's I think that, I think that the really sad thing at the end of all this is that Beatrice, as I understand it, is a pretty broken person, you know, and now it looks like maybe her marriage is going to collapse and her marriage is going to fail. And I don't think there's anyone who's watching this who'd be going, yay, hooray, we're so happy. Or, you know, that's like a tragedy for any person and any family. And I feel for them deeply, which is not to say that she doesn't have a large part to play in her own downfall, you know.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you're right. I do feel bad for her. She's made constantly made bad decisions, and they're coming home to roost right now. And I do feel bad. Do I think she would have been better with Dave? Yes, 100. But then you look at someone like Eugenie, who I think actually picked the right guy. Her picker's not off.
Sorry.
Sorry, Tom's got a call. He's a popular dude. Tom's very popular, you guys. What can we do? I do think, and also, Tom, I love that once again, we are matchy. You guys, Tom and I have mind melts. It's weird. I wore this coat so that I could match the lobster behind him, because thank God it's back. I missed it. And Tom got excited and put on his red coat. One day,
my lobster, by the way, people are asking where my lobster is from, and it's from a very, can you go full screen, Ben? They can see it. It's from a very cool company called Artfully Walls, that do these amazing pictures and images, and you can just order them and they just arrive in the post. It's absolutely amazing. Not particularly cheap, I have to say, but they are really, really cool, and they've got so much stuff. You can just have a look at all of their stuff. This is not a paid advert. This is public information. Artfully Walls, that's what they're called.
Actually, will you do me a favor, Tom? Will you, when this uploads, will you put it in the link of where you got your lobster?
I will.
Put a link in too, because I would like a lobster, or maybe a crab or something, so that we're not super twinning. That would be weird. So
Paul,
I do have to.
So you're not going to hear all these other exciting stories. I've got an amazing exclusive on my Substack about the corgis, which I'm going to be getting into in a minute. And also, I wanted to just unload my incredible outrage, really, at this scandalous appointment of Sky News's royal correspondent joining the royal family's press office.
Wait. I know you're excited, and I'm mad. I have to go for two reasons. Number one, Dorgy Chiwargi Doug wanted to weigh in on those corgis. He's not a pure breed, but that means
he's the Edoardo Mapelli Mozzi of this story.
Exactly. However, that means he's smarter. Damn it. And he certainly is not living with Fergie. And the Sky News correspondent going for a bigger, better job at the palace. I mean, I've seen things like this happen before, and you're just like, wow, how many stories did you have to sit on to get that? And also TikTok, you're working for Charles and Camilla. This job is going to not last so long.
It's absolutely outrageous. And Paula, if you have to go, we understand.
I do. Bye, you guys. Thank you. Bye.
Yes, so Rhiannon Mills. Bye. So Rhiannon Mills was, until like literally Friday, the Sky News's royal correspondent. She's literally a member of the royal rota. And then there was suddenly this story in the Times saying that she'd hopped over the fence and had gone to join the royal press office as press communications secretary to the king, reporting into my old chum Tobin Andre. And it's just it is absolutely scandalous. Like, if any, and I spent quite a lot of my time actually defending the royal rota, because they do fantastic work and they do brilliant stories, and we wouldn't know anything about Prince Andrew if it wasn't for work done by journalists who are members of the royal rota. But it's incredibly hard to defend them when they engage in nakedly corrupt behavior like this. So, as Paula mentioned there, obviously, how many stories did she have to sit on over the past 3 months while these negotiations have been going on? She has now, of course, been placed on gardening leave immediately that the story broke, so she will not be reporting anymore. But frankly, Sky News subscribers are entitled to ask for their money back, because it's just so, I just find it absolutely scandalous. I find it absolutely disgraceful. The other thing that I think is really important to think about here is that the King's press office is not like, it's not like an individual person representing their brand privately, right? It's not like he just goes out and using his own money hires someone to make him look good. It's not like, you know, British Airways like is forever hiring the transport correspondent of papers to come and work as their PR. Their current PR used to be the transport correspondent at the Telegraph. But they're spending their own money, right? So in a way, it's not great, right, for them to do that, but it's their own money. The King's press office is funded by the taxpayer, okay? That's who pays for the King's press office, is the taxpayer. And the taxpayer's money has been used to buy up a powerful, supposedly independent journalist. And the idea that that journalist has not been compromised in the last few months or the last year, we don't know how long those negotiations have been going on. Of course, we'll never be allowed to know. But the idea that that journalist has not been compromised is laughable, frankly. Anyway, one more story that I want to get to. Oh, I need to tell you some really exciting news. My new podcast that I'm doing in partnership with the Daily Beast, on Tuesday, we have Tom Bower coming on the show, which is so exciting. Tom Bower, the author of Revenge, which was an amazing account of Meghan's kind of rise to be the Duchess of Sussex, and his new book Betrayal, which is an equally fascinating account of their fall. And so I'm very excited to have Tom on the show on Tuesday. We record it on Tuesday morning so we can get any late breaking news in, and then it supposedly goes out at about 5 p.m. This week it was actually 6 p.m. Eastern time on YouTube, and then it goes out the next day on the audio platforms on Spotify and all those kinds of things. So incredibly excited and flattered and delighted to have Tom Bower coming on that. One more story I want to just talk about, which is the lead story in my Substack today, is about how Prince William and Catherine were intensely irritated by Sarah Ferguson claiming that the Queen was communicating with her through her corgis. So this is exclusive to the Royalist on Substack. If you're not on Substack, just search Royalist Substack Tom Sykes. It'll come up. It's you have to sign up and subscribe, but you just go for free. Just join the free plan, and you'll get the newsletter every Sunday. Prince William and his wife Catherine, the Princess of Wales, were left appalled after Sarah Ferguson claimed the Queen was communicating with her from beyond the grave through her corgis. I can exclusively reveal. Could you put another screen grab of that up, Ben, so I can just read a little bit more? Because I'm so proud of it. It's such a great story. I've actually been hanging on to it for another secret project that I was doing, but I had to run it today because the Mail and the Sun had a massive joint corgi scoop, which was Fergie was in discussions with an American TV program to clone the corgis for a TV show. So she took to telling friends and families, much to William's immense irritation, that she was using to communicate from beyond the grave. When she took them for a walk in her favourite spots around Windsor Great Park, Angela Kelly, I'm told, was particularly annoyed by it. Angela Kelly was the Queen's greatest personal friend. She was her dresser. She was with her at the end, at the bitter end. She was around at her side at her death, spent all that time with her at the end when other people weren't allowed to, or chose not to be near her. Angela was with her all the way. And all those people who cared for the Queen at the death were very horrified at Sarah using the corgis to kind of claim this spurious, to sort of imply this spurious spiritual connection with the Queen. So it's a really really interesting story, because on one hand it seems very frivolous, and it's just about, that's Angela Kelly there. It seems very frivolous and just about the dogs and the corgis. And of course, we all know the Queen had her corgis, and they ate out of battered silver bowls. And the dachshund and the corgi had a baby called a doggy, and it was Princess Margaret's. And she had the corgis since she was 16, and she was given the first one called Susan by her father, who was King George VI. And the corgis are so much part of the kind of lore of Queen Elizabeth. And the way that Sarah tried to exploit that is, I think it actually tells you a lot about how cynical she is, about how there's really nothing that she wouldn't do for money. And the fact that she met with this production company, because, oh yes, so sorry, just to catch you up. So the reason that she is pictured there with these two corgis, Sandy and Mutt, is because Andrew and Sarah gave her the corgis in 2021. They gave her these two corgis. But the point is that the Queen's last corgi, who actually a doggy called Vulcan, died in 2020. And the Queen, like a lot of dog owners, you know, a lot of responsible pet owners, choose not to get another dog when they know themselves that realistically they're getting to the end of their lives, right? And they're not going to be able, they're worried about what's going to happen to the dog after they die. And the Queen, a friend of hers told me, took that responsibility very, very seriously. She considered, in that kind of very Christian way, that we have this great responsibility towards dumb animals that can't make decisions for themselves. And she knew that William did not like corgis and that Charles did not like corgis, because they never made any secret of it. They're quite yappy dogs. They're actually hunting dogs, I believe. Maybe someone will be able to correct me, but they're kind of hunting dogs, and they can be quite yappy, and they're quite difficult to look after, I'm told. I mean, I don't know. And so when Vulcan died in 2020, that was very much it. That was the end of it. She wasn't going to get any more. It wasn't a big drama. It wasn't a big thing, but it was just a responsible thing that, as we all know, you know, a lot of people who love dogs and love animals choose not to get another dog when they're 95 for obvious reasons. Andrew and Sarah presented her, first of all, with Muck, I think, and then with Sandy in 2021, February, I think, 21, and then June 21, and unasked for, unwanted, didn't check with the rest of the family, just gave her these two dogs, and then made out in this TV show, it is made out that they were left to her in the will. I'm told that's completely inaccurate, that the dogs were simply returned to them because they had given her the dogs, so that they were just returned to them. And Sarah then, very cynically, in my opinion, set about exploiting the dogs, in exploiting her connection through the Queen and using the dogs to claim this spurious spiritual connection to the Queen. And it actually really upset family members. And look, the thing about the royal family, I suppose, is that when you speak to people who work for them or who know them, they always say that what gets lost about the royal family is that ultimately they are a family. They're dysfunctional, they have arguments, they hate each other, they communicate in odd ways, but ultimately they are a family. And I think to the people who were actually very close to the Queen in the family and outside of the family, they were pretty horrified by Sarah saying that the Queen was communicating with her through the corgis, that the Queen felt close to, that she could feel, the corgis could feel the Queen walking by. Like, that was another one. She actually said that in a media interview, I think. She said that the corgis would look up because they could feel the ghost of the Queen walking by. I mean, it was so cynical, and it was such a naked attempt to just associate herself with the memory of the Queen by any means necessary. So if you want to read all about that, that's on my Substack, The Royalist with Tom Sykes. There's like so much royal news every day. that I just I love it. I'm so happy writing about it, and I love my Substack subscribers. They are the community on the Substack's brilliant. We have brilliant comments. I get half my stories from my community, not half of them, but I get a good few stories from my community, writing in, giving me ideas of stuff they want me to write about, or telling me stuff. So it's a brilliant place. So please do consider heading on over to Substack. And please, 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 if you've enjoyed this, like and subscribe. And if you're feeling really kind, share it with a friend. That's all I've got. Bye.